Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, I want to start going over how to be the BIM manager. How do you set up your firm, your template settings, and all the things that your firm is ultimately going to need to get started. So the first thing that you're going to need is some sort of starting point. Now I usually like to go with the architectural template, but that's also because that's in my field. For people working in other disciplines, you might use the structural template or mechanical template and build out from there. Regardless, you'll want to start with what you know. Now, the first thing that I usually do, that I find particularly helpful, is to customize the line weight settings. You'll need to ask yourself what distinguishes my firm from others, and at a glance, it's line weights and the way in which you draw. So the first thing I would recommend doing is going to your Manage tab, and then, from under the Additional Settings icon, select Line Weights. This will bring up a window showing you your line weights from 1 to 16 and in all different scales. Now you can always adjust these values later on, but when you're getting started and creating a template, you want to have them set up pretty much ready to go. Now be aware that as a BIM manager, there's probably going to be an element of trial and error if you want to match your line weights to a previous system you were on. So while you will have to adjust these numbers to correspond to the scales that you want, keep in mind that they are all equivalent to your 1 through 16. And this is really the first step in establishing the particular look of your firm, because each line weight is going to correspond to how your lines appear, and thus how your models appear. And note that you can also choose perspective line weights and annotation line weights. So be aware that along with your model's appearance, the appearance of dimensions and other annotations is equally important. Therefore, once you've applied your different line weight settings, again under Manage and Additional Settings, you can then move on to line styles under the same menu. Now in this case, you'll see that your line styles come with default values. So you have all different categories of lines, and each one has its own line weight, again, based upon the line weight settings that we just saw in the previous menu. You also have the ability to create additional styles and categories. I usually try and keep it fairly basic for my company. So for instance, I might make a category called Line Weight 1. I'll make another one here, and I'll call it Line Weight 2. Now I'm just typing these in for example. You probably are going to want to be more consistent in spelling and orthography, so I'll change line weight 1 so that it matches the spelling of line weight 2. We can create line weight 3, and you can just keep on going like that. But once you've made them, you should go through and change their line weights to the corresponding number. You also here have the opportunity to change the line pattern to whatever type you want or need. And if you find that the line patterns don't meet your needs, you can always create brand new ones, or simply modify existing line patterns. So I don't need to worry about that for my example, so I'll keep it solid, and then hit Apply and OK. So once you have your line weights set up, now you can begin creating annotations, or you can begin drawing lines and seeing exactly, what is line weight 1. And you can compare that to what is line weight 2. And for a beginning example in this process, I would go through and do these comparisons, because if we zoom in now, you can actually see the difference between the different line weights. You may also want to print them out so you can see in physical form if the line weights are what you want. So that really is the starting point of being a BIM manager and setting up a firm, is specifying your line weights and making sure they're what you want. It's your job to determine the appropriate crispness and appearance, and keep in mind that these are also going to adjust based on your scale. At a 1.5 inch scale, then the differences between the line weights are less distinct. As you decrease the scale, the differences become more apparent. But increasing the scale makes for finer shades of difference. So it's important that you keep all these factors in mind, because remember, if we go back to Manage, and then go to Additional Settings and Line Weights, you'll see that the scale you define determines the thickness and appearance of the lines. Alright, that is the first step in setting up your firm. We'll continue it in the next lesson.